Alrighty, hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. This week we're doing a lot of cooking and we're going to start with, you're going to need a big Tupperware full of peeled carrot, as in carrot peels. So you would use, you would use the tool that you'd use to peel potatoes, but then put in carrot peelings instead. So I'm going to pour this into here so I can tell you exactly how much. And it looks like we're going to go with about 4 cups of peeled or carrot peels. And then for this recipe, you can use assorted vegetables. I'm just using the leftover vegetables on a veggie plate that we had at lunch, and I'm going to cut them into small pieces. And today, if you guys didn't know, I'm going to be making some carrot pasta. And I also have no idea really what I'm doing, so it's going to be an adventure for everyone, but we're going to start out with some vegetable chopping ASMR. And we're starting with these celery, and I'm cutting them up very small. I'm going to put them in a separate container from the carrot peelings because I want to make sure that the carrot peelings go into the mixture last. So I'm going to be using this Tupperware container to keep all of my chopped veggies in. And then after I've cooked the vegetable base, then I'm going to try to make a sauce with a dairy-free roux. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that, so we're just going to see. It's going to be an experiment. So, yeah. And this is going to be my main lunch food. I have 2 green pepper slices, so let's just cut those up really quick. Green peppers are really good for stir fries and that sort of thing. Then I have a lot of cucumbers that have already been sliced, but I'm going to cut them up even smaller because I just want everything to be small except for my carrot noodles because I want them to be closer to being pasta-y things. I'm aware that my cutting technique is probably not as professional as it could be, but it's what we're working with right now. And then we actually do have some carrots here, and I'm just going to cut them up really small so that they don't get confused with the other carrot bits that we've got. We also have some tomatoes, and why not just throw those in there? I really like tomatoes fresh, but cooked tomatoes are also good. Have you ever eaten a whole tomato just like an apple? Because that's my favorite way to eat tomatoes. I'm aware that that probably makes me a very weird person to most people, but that's just how I like to do things. Okay, then I also have some of these mushrooms. They are the Phillips Farms sliced mushrooms, and it doesn't really say what specifically, um, what specifically kind of mushrooms that they are, but I'm gonna use a couple of them. Actually, I don't know how many of them I'm going to use, but I'm going to go wash them really quickly because that's what the box says to do. I like mushrooms. I don't know if you guys do or don't. I really do. There's a dish called mushroom pie that I might show you guys how to make in a later video, but basically it's literally just mushrooms and mozzarella cheese in a pie shell with some spices, and it's like one of my favorite foods. Okay, I've rinsed these mushrooms and there might be a little bit of dirt on them, but I'm not worried about it because a little dirt never hurt anybody. Pesticides did, but a little bit of dirt, that's just fine. Now, when I cook this dish, I'm going to be cooking it in a pan, but you could probably do it in a pot too. I'm just going to be doing it in a pan because it will be easier for you guys to see what I'm doing. And also, for some reason, deep dishes intimidate me unless they're full, and I don't want to make a huge amount of food, just enough to last me for 5 lunches. I know that I don't work fast enough to be a professional chef, but I think it would be really fun to try and cook for other people. As a job, I just don't work very well under pressure when I'm being timed or when there are other people in the kitchen. So it might be better to be kind of a boutique kind of a chef, you know? but I really don't know. However, if you guys try out any of these recipes that you see me making and you like them, then please let me know, because it would be really cool for me to know that someone else liked food that I made. Alrighty, that is the last of the mushrooms that I'm chopping up. And so now we have a Tupperware that has got a bunch of vegetables in it. And I don't know if a professional chef would do it this way, but I'm going to put my spices into this box of vegetables just so that it's already done and I don't have to worry about getting them out when I'm actually doing the cooking of my dish. So, I think I'm gonna make this a little bit of a spicy dish. Not too much spice because I can't handle anything too hot, but I am trying to expand my spice horizons. So we're gonna start with some salt because you gotta put salt in everything. And then also some pepper. I'm going to add a little bit of paprika. A little bit of chili powder because I don't want it to be too hot, but I do want a little bit of a zing. Then I found something called Soul Seasoning by the brand Markham. It smells pretty good, but I don't want too much of that either. And the ingredients in the back are salt, paprika, rice flour, coriander, cayenne pepper, black pepper, garlic, celery, and cumin. And then this is a jar that we have called Moroccan seasoning, and I think the label fell off, so my mom wrote it back on, which says 2 tablespoons cumin, 1 tablespoon coriander, 2 teaspoons ginger, 2 teaspoons cinnamon, a quarter teaspoon red pepper, 1 teaspoon cardamom, and half a teaspoon of cloves. And so that's what's in this one, and I'm just gonna tap it out in my hand because I don't want to have too much of that either, and just pour that onto there. Alrighty, now I'm gonna put you guys on hold while I get my pans ready, and then we're gonna start cooking. Alrighty, so I'm gonna start by putting a little bit of water in the bottom of my pan, just so that there's some liquid in it for when I start adding other things. And I'm gonna turn it on to in between the medium and the low setting. Then I have some pre-sliced red onions, and I'm just gonna dump a couple of those in there to get started. My mom is going to be using some of these for a salad later, but she said I could use a few, so that's in there right now. Sorry to bump in front of you, but nothing exciting is happening yet. Alrighty, I'm going to turn the heat up just to about a medium so that the onions will start to cook. I think I put a tiny tad bit too much water in. So, but that's okay because I want it to start out being kind of like a soup. I just want there to be onion flavor, you know? Yeah. And normally you probably would use regular onions and not red onions, but the red ones are the ones that we've got. Also, this video is going to be quite long, and I might end up making the roux in a separate video and showing you guys that, so bear with me for that. I'm going to turn the heat up just a little bit, so more so that this will cook faster, the onions will go faster, and then I'll turn it down again when we get to adding more vegetables. There we go. I know that it's not sizzling like the carrots did, but the water in the pan is now bubbly and boiling. And yeah, definitely where we want it to be. When I add the vegetables, I'm going to try to add the mushrooms first before the other ones, just because, like, if I can tip most of the mushrooms out, they're going to take a little bit longer to cook. Than some of the other vegetables in here. There we go. That was mostly mushrooms and a little bit of some other things, but I'm going to add those in here right now. If you do the cutting as a prep cutting for this, the actual stir fry that we're making right now probably won't take too much of your time. So yeah, prep cutting is always a great idea. I'm gonna turn the heat down just because it is hurting my fingers. I'm not used to things being very hot. So yeah. The spices are definitely smelling really good though. And I'm just going to put a lid on these mushrooms because I know they're going to take a little bit to cook. And just leave that on for about 2 minutes or so, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so now that the mushrooms have softened up a little bit, but there's still some boiling juices in there, that sounds really nice. Gonna go ahead and add the rest of the chopped vegetables, but not the carrots yet. I mean, not the carrot peelings, because there's a little bit of chopped carrots in here. And of course, if you guys decide to make this, you can obviously vary the vegetables that you use. You do not have to do anything the same that I do. And if your pan ever starts to get too dry, feel free to add a little bit more water. The mushrooms especially will be soaking up water, but some of the other vegetables will be releasing it. So it will even out in the end. I'm going to add a little bit more water to mine. We always keep a full teapot on our stove because A, we like tea, and then B, there's always
need for a little bit of extra water when you're cooking, and it's good to have that when you want it. This part probably isn't super interesting to you, so basically just cook these vegetables here until they are the consistency that you want, and then add the carrot peelings. I'm going to just pause it for you guys and then add those, and I'll show you guys when I have added them. So I put the lid back on once I added the other vegetables and let it sit for another minute or two. And now I feel like it's been cooking for long enough that the harder vegetables are a little bit softer. Obviously, if you have any cut up carrots, those are going to still be a little crunchy, but that's okay because I like crunchy. And now I'm going to add the carrot peelings to it. They don't need to cook for as long as, say, the chunky carrots or the mushrooms because they're very thin, or they should be very thin. I'm going to do my best to get them all coated with the mixture, but mostly I'm just gonna swish them on the top and then hope that it gets filtered up through in the smoke. In hindsight, a pot definitely would have been a better idea, but we all know that I am something along the lines of like, you have 20/20 vision in hindsight or something. I don't remember. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do now, since it's a little bit hard to stir them, I'm going to pour some more water over it. And then put the lid back on and leave it to sit for another few minutes until that I think the carrots will be more soft. And then I'll try and stir that again so that they'll be more squishy and less stiff, and that should probably stir better. And then we will put it into a container. It's hiding underneath the guitar now. Take this with you upstairs to your room. Alrighty, so now that I have placed my whole concoction into here, we can just refrigerate it and serve it whenever. I'm going to make a separate video in which I make the roux, and for the roux you're going to want to take the leftover juice that you had and pour that into a separate container for the roux, but you do not have to do that while it's hot. You can wait until it cools down if you prefer. Hopefully this will taste good, and I will give you guys an update at the end of the week about how all of my food eating flavor-wise and also if I turn orange, which is the end goal, which I probably won't, but I'm being healthy, so yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have a great rest of your day.